Good evening. Welcome to our weekly. Welcome Himanshu. Welcome everyone to our weekly session of BBKP at Hitbullseye. Congratulations, heartiest congratulations to Himanshu to get to IIM Bangalore. Uh, I know the happiness just maybe still has not seeped in. The successes maybe still not seeped in, and we have Himanshu with us to guide our students through how his preparation was. He's been a classroom student for Hitbullseye. What a fantastic way to make your parents proud, make yourself proud, make your parents proud, make Hitbullseye proud. Heartiest congratulations, Himanshu. How does it feel? First of all, tell me, before I continue further, how does it feel to crack IIM Bangalore? What was your first reaction when you saw that result? I I really wanted. It was like you went quiet, you were elated. What was your expression?
So first of all, sir, thank you for inviting me over, and I would like to thank the Hitbullseye team and sir for inviting me in this wonderful session. And actually, during my prep days, I used to consult a lot of different teachers and a lot of different alumni that have already graduated. So I think they helped me in my journey, and if I can help some of the students, I think that would be great. So to answer your question, so actually, when the result came, I actually felt really happy, right? Because it's in Bangalore, right? So I
Yes.
finally got into its managed MBA with specialization in business analytics program. So I think I was really happy to go there to finally go to Bangalore and we move from a bit north to a bit South India and even explore that part of the country.
And do with the Bangalore floods. What I've been hearing, you need to be very careful when if you stay in Bangalore after your IIM and you buy a luxury car. I've heard stories of all the luxury cars drowning in Bangalore. But very light-hearted thing, obviously an awesome luxury car as well, post your MBA. But before I let Himanshu speak, a couple of things which I've always in each of my sessions talked about, be it any student who's come over Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Calcutta, Lucknow, who've cracked the paper, who've been hit bullseye students, there are 4-5 traits which are common. So other 3-4 traits which are common. One, a stable head on the shoulder, a confidence that yes, I'm here to make it. Second is that not everything will go perfect. All these students know, and I've not discussed this with Himanshu, but when we pace out this session for the next 1 hour, you'll understand that the traits are common. The second is that what I was talking about is that it's not a smooth line. There are ups and downs. How do these students recover from their bad phases and finally crack the paper is very important. Third is this: they always identify a starting point. In my 20 years of teaching career, I've seen students coming up and saying कि ये नहीं हो रहा, and there's another student coming up and saying ये नहीं हो रहा, and I've identified it and I have to now address it. ऐसा तो नहीं है कि it's a very difficult paper, and you cannot, if you put few hours to a particular topic section, it cannot improve. It will improve, obviously it will improve, just that you need to have that patient stability, stable head over your shoulders to crack it. Okay, and identify that starting point. कि मुझे हर topic, so geometry may be your strong section, so starting point would be different. Algebra may be a difficult section, so starting point would be different. And how many hours do you put to get up the curve is very important. Third is, not everything will go fine in the family. So there'll be disturbances from younger brother, younger sister. Maybe if you're working, there'll be disturbances there. How do these students identify these problems and overcome them and say that, hang on, life is not perfect. I have to find the best way out of it. The best solution is common across all of them. Another thing which, over time we've also understood is that once they identify that I have to get into a particular institute, right? They will seek help not only from the faculty, Hitbullseye, they'll also reach their alumni network. They'll get to the right people because they know this is the problem solution. I need to address this problem, right? Problem solution as in कि मुझे इंटरव्यू क्रैक करनी है, मुझे ये पेपर क्रैक करना है, मेरे को ये प्रॉब्लम आ रही है. I will reach out. No one is going to come to you and say that, hang on, you must be facing this problem, because everyone is unique. Everyone faces a different set of problems. So this is what we are going to understand from Himanshu. How did he address all of that? And Himanshu, just speak your heart out.
Sure.
Be my request. But what a fantastic achievement. First of all, deciding that yes, I can do it in 3 months, crack the written examination in 3 months, and then finally cracking the examination in 3 months speaks volumes about your ability, capability, determination. What's there with the stable head which says, "Hang on, I can do it."
Yeah.
Very nice. Student from Peck, Chandigarh making it. Over to you. I think before they switch me off, that I'm not allowed to speak, they want to listen to you. Over to you. Speak your heart out before we start taking the questions. Over to you.
So welcome guys. So I'll start on with my journey, and basically after the session we can take up questions if you want, along with sir. So starting on journey, I studied in Punjab Engineering College, Peck, and I'm a graduate of 2019, where I studied electrical engineering. So during my college days, I was leading different societies. I was part of various different clubs altogether. So from there, I got my knack for problem solving. Initially, I want to get into robotics, but essentially over time, during my college days, I realized I wanted to solve problems. I think that led to my last company, that is ZS Associates, which is a management consulting firm that specializes in pharmaceutical companies in United States. So I think I had a fantastic time there. I got to meet a lot of different people, got to learn about consulting, data analytics, strategy analytics, and even to the point that I was leading a few teams in the and directly interacting with the clients as well. And over the course, I think I realized I gained a lot of experience, but I still thought that there was still a part of me that was missing, right? That could take me ahead, right? When I bring solutions to client, there was still part of me that I thought there's something more, right? That I can still bring something more to the table. Even in future, if I want to do something of my own, right? So basically, I needed that little extra, and I thought that B school is the right choice to go. So essentially, last year of 2022, around July, I decided to pursue an MBA from an Indian college. So I think my
Why,
long
why did this thought, sorry, why did this thought come only in July? Why not before that? Because I'm sure most of your batchmates would be preparing.
yeah. So essentially, I think a lot of my batchmates were preparing in the penultimate years as well, and even a lot of my family members also were asking me to pursue MBA. But essentially, at that point of time, I was enjoying my job a lot. But essentially, over time, I realized that I had gained experience, and basically, if you're leading team and you're already doing stuff that you can do, I still thought that there's still that missing element that I am not getting in my current company that I can get in a new company. And basically, I wanted to pursue a 2 years MBA instead of an executive MBA or a 1 year MBA. And no disrespect to anyone who pursues 1 year. I think this was my personal choice to get a 2 years MBA because I needed that time to learn about myself, about the world in itself. So essentially, I think around mid-July, I decided to pursue and going from an Indian college. I did not decide for a foreign MBA. I actually wanted to pursue from an Indian MBA because I thought that Indian colleges are good enough. And basically, I want to stay in India and work for India itself to see the development of India with my own hands someday. So I think why not stay here and do something for India itself? So essentially, so when I decided to go full in. So it had been around, let's say around 3 years of me working with ZS Associates. So I was already out of touch with my student mode. So essentially, I knew that if I had to do it, I had to go full in. It's not halfway street, right? You have to go full in. So I decided to finally take a sabbatical of 3 months from my job. And I think at my job, as I told, I was at a comfortable position. And basically, I had a lot of connects. I had to risk it all the way. So leaving your job for 3 months to prep for an exam, getting into student mode. So essentially, I gave a notice period of around 1 month. And I think my sabbatical started at the end of August. So I had only 3 months, September, October, and November. So essentially, that's when I contacted Hitbullseye, that is in my hometown, Chandigarh, and I enrolled in their offline batches. So essentially, I think I got a lot of support from the teachers and the staff that helped me guide through how I can crack it. And essentially, a lot of Bullseye teachers and even my family were supportive. And even Bullseye helped me, allowed me to attend multiple batches to complete my syllabus. Because I remember it was my first class in Hit Bullseye, and I was a lot perplexed. I went to the teachers and I asked them, how can I cover the syllabus? People have been preparing for 6 months, 12 months, or even years, right, for the same exam. And I'm just starting from scratch. So they told me that it's fine, just stick to the schedule, try to attend as many classes as possible, and even attend multiple batches. So I followed their advice. So what I did, I created a handwritten sheet of all the topics. So Hitbullseye had also an online portal. So I went there, I wrote all the topics by hand on a sheet of paper. I brought columns that whether I have attended this class or not, whether I've attended its class exercises or not, whether I have done its advanced problems or not. So essentially, I try to organize it in a way that no topic is left uncovered. So I think by end of nearing CAT, I think almost all my syllabus was complete for quant, DLR, and verbal. So essentially, I think I'm talking about the journey itself. I think it was followed by a lot of ups and downs. So I think following my teacher's advice as well, we started giving mocks at the start of prep itself, not at the end of prep or at the end of syllabus. So I started giving mocks at the start of September itself. So I started my mocks with a wide frequency, let's say about once a week or twice a week. And I started increasing frequency as the CAT neared. So I think as the CAT neared, I gave almost one mock each day, and I used to give one mock in afternoon, and I used to review it in the evening. And essentially, I think I ended my mock preparation by I think 1 week before CAT. I did not give any mock before then. But essentially, the journey of mock started with at a low, right? I did not get the score as I expected. It was very, very low. So I was too disappointed. I'm like, how can I crack CAT? I'm not getting even this much score.
And
But
the pressure builds up because you've taken a sabbatical.
yeah,
So
definitely.
you've already announced that you've taken the CAT paper, and then suddenly this percentile hits you. Yes, yes.
No, definitely, definitely. So I think I went to teachers, I went to counselors at Hitbullseye, and even my family members. I asked them what are the strategies, what I can do to cope up with them. And using those strategies, I tried to cope up. I tried to solve as many mocks as possible, tried to solve as many questions as possible. I think one of the main factors of my family, I was always motivated and I went ahead in that direction. I think to all the students that are watching, one thing is mocks are very, very, very important. I think apart from that, not only mocks are important, how you give mocks is also important. So I just want to share how I used to give my mocks. So essentially, for example, I used to keep a time at 11 a.m. in the morning, right? If I'm trying to give a mock at 11 a.m., so I used to sit down at 10:30 a.m. doing nothing, just sitting down on the screen. Mock paper is ahead of me because during the actual CAT exam, it won't be there that the exam is there and you hit a start button and exam starts, right? The 30 minutes or 1 hour before the exam, that's where the nervousness builds up. And I knew about that. So basically, I started doing that and basically started to know how I can overcome that nervousness and basically get habitual to that nervousness, essentially. Right. And essentially, one more thing, I think habit builds and habit helps. So essentially, I also used to create my own rough sheets. So a lot of you might take a rough sheet or take a lot of different papers or notebook and a pen. So what I did, I used to take A4 sheets. I used to take 6 A4 sheets, divide them from half. I used to staple them from the top and even do some scaling and write cat, mock cat, and even write date, my roll number, all the aesthetics as well. And I used to buy a 2 rupee pen, not a very fancy pen, because you won't get a very expensive pen during your CAT exam. So essentially, I
Yes,
used
yes,
to do those prep of making myself habitual of the actual environment to the extent possible. I think one of the major factors is also my family, because even they cooperated and basically during those 2 hours or 2.5 hours or 3 hours, no one disturbed. So there was pin drop silence during that time. So essentially, as the time progressed, I think the mock preparation helped, and I think for 2 months, my score started to show up, and I was getting really happy. But essentially, at the end of 2 months, what came? Our admit card came up. So essentially, when admit card came up, we get time slots of actual mock. I was giving my exam at 11 a.m. But essentially, my slot was evening slot around 4:30. So essentially, from last month onwards, I started to give my mocks at 4:30. So I shifted my entire schedule. So essentially, to my surprise, again, mock performance dropped a bit because the habit changed a bit, right? So essentially, again, I think it took around 1 or 2 weeks to get back into that zone. And I think before 1 week or 2 weeks before CAT, I was able to get back into my zone and get the scores that I wanted. And I think I ended my mock preparation at a high. And basically, I think 1 week before CAT, I was just revising, watching some motivation YouTube videos, spending time with my family. I was like, no pressure. I have done what I can do to the best extent.
oh, very nice. So, if are you a cricket lover? But I'll quote some examples. So, Sachin Tendulkar used to take off his shoes.
Yeah.
Matthew Hayden used to take off his shoes the day before the match was to be played. We used to go and sit on the pitch. Okay, they used to go and sit on the pitch and you know get that feel that
Yeah.
what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Obviously, now someone will say that atmosphere of the environment of the stadium and everything will remain the same. Every match it remains the same, but that's how you prepare, and that's what he's done.
Yeah.
Many successful cricketers do the same. So that's very important. Doing that simulation. Dinesh Karthik, during his peak time of hitting sixes, said the same thing, that there's a lot of simulation which I do, what is going to go on in the match, even if I'm facing six balls, what is my role, what do I have to do, where is the person going to bowl? All that simulation has to be done, which you were doing perfectly. And that, I think, that simulation played its role in helping you out to that 2.5, 3 hours, 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
So, half an hour sitting, half an hour before the whole thing, I think it was a very fantastic thing. I think every student should incorporate that. Because yes, when you enter and half an hour after that, your frame of mind is different.
Yeah.
Frame of mind is different. Very true. So tell me, how did you, did you cover all the basics? Or because you just started 3 months back, so you said that, hang on, let me just cover whatever I feel I'm not good at. What did you do?
So I basically covered all the basics and I even touched the advanced topics as well. So to cover those, I think the classroom materials, whatever we have, I think that is sufficient to cover most of the basics and most of the intermediate to advanced stuff. I think at the day of exam, I think what the mindset of question setter is, I think each set is different. But essentially, if we cover all the class exercises that we have at least, whatever institute we belong to, I think if we cover the basics at least, I think 80% of the job is done, right? I think that's
Yes.
one aspect of it, covering all the syllabus. The second aspect is learning by doing. So essentially, when I used to give mocks, I think there was a lot of different questions I used to encounter that may not be covered in the basics or might be different, right? So I got to know what is the strategy of the question setter. So I think our teachers used to say it's a selection game. So I think
Yes.
as we gave mocks, and I think one of the most essential factor of mock is also the analysis. So essentially, when I'm talking about learning by doing, the analysis part was a major factor. So if I talk particularly about quant, right, I think I used to color code my analysis of what type of questions I've answered after the mock. So I think if there was a 2.5 hours exam that I gave, so I think the analysis was followed was around 4 hours, 4 to 5 hours. It took me just to do the analysis itself. So
Yes.
for example, just talking about quant, right? So I think there are two sets of questions that you attempt, one that are correct, one that are incorrect. One from those correct, there are also two sections. One that you took lower time, and from the easy one, the correct ones, there are some questions that took you a lot of time, right? Those are questions that you wasted your time in. I think that you have to learn how to recognize those. In addition to those, I think one of the crucial factors what went wrong, what questions are incorrect. Even from those, right? From what went wrong is one of the where you made silly mistakes. Those are easy and you did wrong. At the same time, you also wasted time in doing the wrong question. You can spend some other time. At the same time, there are the wrong questions where you spend a lot of time, right? We need to learn to recognize what are those questions, what are those topics. So essentially, learn your strengths, learn your weaknesses, try to strengthen your strengths as much as possible. And if you have time, I think it's around 6 months to CAT, right? So essentially, you can start strengthening your weakness, and I think this is the right time to even overcome your weaknesses as well. So
Yes.
as
Yes.
you
Very right.
yeah, and I think as you near CAT, I think time to strength of weakness would be lower and lower. At that point of time, you should try to polish your strengths as much as possible. So I think the analysis part would be very crucial. Yeah.
So a couple of days, or rather a week, 10 days before the match, no one. If you're weak in a short ball, you understand how to duck.
Yeah.
Okay, you don't understand how to play it.
Yeah.
You know it, what's your strength and weakness, and that's what he's exactly talking about. 6 months to the paper. Please address your weaknesses. There's enough time. You can still address your weaknesses. It's just about saying that, hang on, maybe I'm not good at probability. I'll sit through the night and address it tonight.
Yeah.
Simple. Done. That's it. Tomorrow morning, I'll come out as a different person.
Yeah.
Right. And addressing weaknesses at this time is also very important, because you need to identify what you have to leave. Let's say your weakness still remains a weakness, but the student has to identify कि अगर ये मेरी वीकनेस है, या तो ये इंप्रूव हो गई, अगर
Yeah.
ये इंप्रूव नहीं हो रही तो मुझे इससे बाहर निकलना है, बिकॉज मैं इसमें गलती बहुत कर.
Yeah.
Another very important thing which Himanshu talked about, which is super important, is please take regular mock cats. Okay. He did not have that privilege because he started just 3 months back and he immediately started. But even if you're like 6 months, or even if you've started before that, 6 months are left, even if you started before that, mock cats are very important. Now, see it in this way, that simulation will not happen if you're not, you're not taking the mock cat. You need to understand, even if you're getting a low percentile, he rightly points out that initially his starting was not good. Okay. But once that simulation starts happening, you've identified that you've spent a lot of time in the wrong in the questions which you got wrong. And actually, we spend more time in questions which we get wrong. We spend less time in questions which we get right. You identify and you move on. Right. Have I summarized it? I hope I've not missed anything, Himanshu.
Definitely, sir.
So now tell me, Himanshu, how did you approach quant, then LRDI, then verbal? So go one by one. How did you approach quant? So you an engineer, had some background.
Yeah.
What was your preparation strategy? Similarly for verbal, similarly for LRDI.
Yeah. Sure, sir. So I think I'll start with quant. I think a lot of engineers would be giving exam, and I think a lot of them would be watching right now. So I'll start quant, the most favorite subject of engineers. So essentially, talking about quant, I think people think it's
I
a
know I love this about engineers though. Sorry, just stopping you.
yeah, sure.
They want to listen to you. But this bowler in Mumbai Indians gets 5 wickets for 5 runs in one of the matches before MI was knocked out, and he says engineers are very quick learners. At the moment he said that in the presentation, and he got man of the match award. In the moment he said that, I was very sure. Uh, non-engineers might end up saying that engineers have an advantage even in cricket. So hang on, it's not like that. It's just their mindset.
Yeah.
Okay, get the mindset right. And they've been speaking so much about it. I'm an engineer, so I can do it.
Yeah.
You have to say that multiple times and believe it. Right? So I love it. So engineers, again, please. I'm a non-engineer, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think even the non-engineers that are watching, I think it's not that it's not their cup of tea. Even the right practice and dedication, they can even achieve that.
Yes,
So
yes.
essentially, to take up quant, as I mentioned, I think one of the major steps was writing the syllabus. So I think for verbal and LRDI, there's no syllabus defined. But for quant, one thing important is you have a syllabus defined, that it won't be as far out of syllabus. So if you cover all the basic concepts, all the tips and tricks, so I think you have the right tools in place, right? You just need to apply. So essentially, I targeted completing every quant syllabus. So essentially, as I have told sir, that I wrote all the topics on a sheet of paper, and I used, after each class, I used to take down, this is the class that I've attempted, and there were some class exercises as well on the online portal. So I used to take out that which class I've attended. I need to cover its class exercise on the online portal. So I think that helped me a lot to not leave any backlogs. I think that's the most important fact. I think as you go along, please don't keep any backlogs that I'll do it at a later point of time. So once your class is done, revise it, do its class exercises, cover your basics at that point of time. And at a later stage, if there are any advanced concepts that are left, you can cover at a later stage. But do all the basics and all the class exercise at that point of time that you're attending classes. And you can cover the rest with the revision and mocks, as I said, right? So I think, again, talking about quant, I used to, as I told earlier, that I used to color code each different question, that how much time I spent on each question. I used to review the mocks, that how much time did I take, 1 minute, 2 minutes, or 3 minutes, right? And as I went along, I got to know what question to leave and what question to attempt first. So I think for quant, one of the strategies I attempted was to reach till end of paper. So I found that the question setter in quant is very tricky. He's a very tricky guy. So essentially, he hides good questions in the entire set of questions, in the entire paper. So if there are 20 questions, there'll be around 10 to 12 questions that you can easily attempt and cover in the exam. So you just need to find it. And there are around 4 to 5 questions that are moderate. So you can try to do the strategies, try to go through the entire paper, try to find which questions are easier. But I think this strategy personally worked for me. You need to try this strategy as you go along with the mocks. So some strategies may work for you, some may not work for you. And over the course of time, you can develop your own strategies.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So I think that's majorly about quant. Uh, Talking about verbal particularly, I think I had a bit trouble in verbal because I think I had reading habit, but essentially reading a long amount of text, contemporary history. I think I started reading those, and I started newspapers, Economic Times, Mint. I used to read daily newspapers, current affairs, to brush up my reading speed. So I think one aspect I would like to mention is start reading online journals and online essays. I think one of the good sources, Aeon essays, that you can find.
Yeah, one of the other students also talked about it. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So I think one of the other factors is, I think newspaper is good and all right for current affairs, but to improve your reading speed, because a CAT exam will be an online exam, it won't be a written exam or a paper-based exam. So when you read a newspaper or a written material that is on a paper, and when you read online, that's a very different simulation. And I guess, as I mentioned, it's all boils down to simulation. So again, you can start with newspapers, but over the course of time, turn to online material as much as possible. Because essentially, I read somewhere that even in Hitbullseye book, I read somewhere that when you read a newspaper, the width of text is low because when you move your eyes across the width, it's very quick, right? So reading newspaper is very fast. But essentially, in your CAT exam, you need to scroll your eyes from one place to other. So I think it
Yes.
takes a lot of time. So the
Yes.
pacing differs when you read a newspaper to online exam. So essentially, I'm not saying that don't read newspapers, do read it, but essentially start also focusing on online material as well. Even I did for quant and DLR as well. I bought some Kindle books as well in addition to my preparation, and I even used to read the Hitbullseye study material that was online. There was books also available, but online material was also subsequently available. So I used to prefer online material that was provided by Hitbullseye rather than the offline books. That helped me simulate the that exam, right? Uh, and I think for verbal, I think it's practice, practice, practice. Essentially, the critical reasoning part, right? So whether you're preparing for a CAT exam or a XAT exam, I think critical reasoning and reading between the lines is the most essential part, and that you learn over time. And I used to connect a lot with my teachers that what is going wrong, because I used to know that a lot of my fluctuations happened in verbal. Even to I think even 1 or 2 months before CAT, most of my fluctuations was in verbal. Uh, but essentially, to be honest, what happened, I think I started in the last month, I focused most of my time on verbal. Though I think 2 months before CAT, I finished 80 to 90% of my quant syllabus. So essentially, I knew that my verbal score was fluctuating and I was a lot worried. So I started focusing a lot on my verbal as well, starting a lot, reading a lot of materials, referring to online material, reading a lot, doing a lot of mocks, analyzing each mock, what went wrong. And even during mock analysis, I used to read entire essay that I read from start to end, right? Why that question got wrong. I did not choose a solution unless I found out what is wrong with me, what mistake I did, right? So essentially, and I'm proud to announce that I think of all the subjects in CAT, I got higher score in verbal. That was surprising for me as well. But yeah, I think that hard work paid off that I did for verbal.
Hmm. What
Uh,
about DILR?
yeah. So I think for DILR, again, as I said, there's no syllabus defined. So it's all practice, practice, practice. So you practice from as much material as you can. So I think in this phase, I think start doing at least one DLR problem each day, right? And as you go to later stage, start doing 1 or 2 DLR problems. And I think by the end of CAT, along with the mock tests, I think there'll be an entire bank of questions set with DLR. So I think again, most optimum strategy is practice. I think because at the day of exam, this is the most surprising set that you can get, right? DLR. You don't know what is going to come in the exam, and if you get the right strategy, because even if you prepare a lot for the DLR, the solution may or may not strike you. The only thing is, do your best. Try to select as good as possible, and try to brush up your verbal and quant as to the most extent. So I think and DLR is mostly about practice, I think. Yeah.
So, so give us an example. Let's say,
Yeah.
did your scores improve in a straight line, or was it that they started improving, then there was a drop? How did it happen in mock cats?
So essentially it was a fluctuating line. So
Okay.
essentially I think it started off with a low. I think
Mhm.
it went a bit low and it went low again. I think
Oh,
at that point
okay.
I was a lot worried, but
Mhm.
essentially I kept it with the motivation. I kept it with my studies.
Mhm.
I did not let my time drop, right? I think even during preparation, I think my family also used to keep me a lot motivated. I think they helped me a lot during my preparation. So essentially, one thing I would like to mention to you, sir, is during my preparation, I almost did not touch my phone to a lot of extent. I used to give my
Well,
phone to my parents because I know it's a big distraction. So I think to all who are preparing, do not touch your phone. I think if you want to crack CAT, so I think at least in the last 3 months or last 2 months, say no to phone. Right? I know there's a lot of different friends connection that you want to connect with, but you need to say no to them and say to them, right? We'll talk to you after 2 months, and if he's a good friend of yours, he'll understand, right? You'll also get to know who was your good friend.
yes.
But essentially, sir, to continue your question, sorry, I divulge a lot on different topics, but
No, that's
uh,
okay. That's okay. So we really wanted to be. We want really want you to speak your heart out.
yeah, so
That's where.
yeah,
See, we have experience, but you are the one who's just cracked the paper. You know it what's happening. Okay,
yeah,
what you went through, and this
yeah,
is where students want to understand that where
Yeah.
are they going, that those small little things where they're going wrong.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe cannot stop themselves from saying love you to their girlfriends. So that's also very, you have to keep yourself away. Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely. So essentially, as I was talking about the graph, I think it started going down initially for one more cat, two more cats, three more cats, even to the four or five, fifth more cat, it went down, right? I think around fifth more cat, it started getting stable, not down, right? And around from seventh, eighth, it started going a little bit up. So I think that was a bright light for me that yes, I can do it. The score started improving, right? And I also started increasing frequency of mocks. That also helped me get more analysis, more number of questions as well, right? Apart from syllabus. So essentially, I think by end of CAT, 1 week before CAT, I completed exactly 37 mocks in 3 months.
Very
I think
nice.
I think 18 of those, I think 16, 18 of those were in the last month of CAT itself. So I think I was doing almost one mock CAT each day and analyzing. I think I was doing a mock it in the morning and analyzing it in the evening. So I
Hmm.
think in the last month, analysis went a lot deeper. So I think there was not a lot of syllabus to cover. It was all analysis. So essentially, I think 6 hours I took for analysis itself. I think it was a lot of time for analysis, but I think that is what I needed to know where I was going wrong and where I can do right. So I think that's the part that helped me. And I think even if your mock scores are getting low at this point of time, I think a lot of you are starting and basically there's not a stable syllabus covered, right? And I think it's fine, but I think as you go along, syllabus will also get covered, you get to know different concepts, and you'll also learn through mocks. I think one mistake students also do is they say that I'll complete my syllabus and then do mocks. I think a lot of my batchmates also were doing the same, right? They were when we discussed, they told me that I haven't completed syllabus. I want to do mock after that. But I think that will be too late. So essentially,
Yes.
start doing at this point of time. If you've started your CAT preparation, do start doing mocks at this point of time. And I think by end of CAT, I think do as much mocks as possible. I think that's the only solution. I think if I started my prep 2 months earlier, I think I would have even done 60 mocks or 70 mocks. Uh, if I had 2 months more time, if I had decided to prepare earlier. So I think please don't do that mistake of saying that I'll complete my syllabus, then I'll do mocks. Start doing mocks at this point of time. Simultaneously.
That's what we also tell our
Yeah.
students. Another thing, just elaborating on your point, how it also helps is that you just started preparing, you taking mock at side by side, you have that openness of accepting a new question which you do not know a solution to.
Yeah.
Okay, so that acceptability, whether I have to do that question or whether I don't have to do that question, because at the end of the day, it's an aptitude paper.
Yeah.
And the only thing which is predicted about the paper is that's unpredictable. It's,
Yeah.
it's said so many times.
Yeah.
So he made himself uh, open to new kinds of questions even when he had not done it, and then selecting or not selecting to do the question uh, was, he got that strength. So of identifying whether I'll be able to do it or I'll not be able to do it. If I'll not be able to do it, how will I move out of it?
Yeah.
Instead of getting a negative mark. So slowly and gradually he developed. And I would also say that it was very natural for his scores to drop, because had that not happened, it was very unnatural thing. I'll tell you why. Because you are trying to use those concepts in the paper, but those concepts are so new to you that the best implementation has still not got there in your mind. How to best implement that concept, and hence the scores go down, and then they start going up. So it's very natural. That's another question. Another thing which always comes is, sir, मैं तैयारी कर रहा हूँ, I've gone back to the basics, but my score in that section has still gone down, or in that topic has still gone down. It will, because you've done that topic, but maybe you've not learned the implementation of it.
Yeah.
Okay, which will only come with practice. Playing a short ball in a practice in nets is different from playing a short ball in a match, right? Only if you play it in a match, you get it 100 times in a match, would you know it how to play it, because that thing is different.
Yeah.
Am I right, Himanshu? So it's very natural what happened. Had you not said it, I would have said that this is something which is made up, but this is what is natural. So mock cats, please start if you've not started. Pick up pace if you just done 2 3 mocks. They are too less. Mocks are a part of your preparation. He's rightly put it. Mocks are a part of your preparation. You cannot say, I've done this topic, now I'll go in the paper and do it. That's a very CBSE
Yeah.
kind of approach to the paper. No. Okay, you've done the basic. Now you learn the implementation of it in the mock cat. Okay, get that simulation. Can I implement it in the mock cat? That's very important. Over to your interviews. So, which all calls did you get? Which all papers did you take? Which all calls did you get?
Sure, sir. So I think, sir, in terms of papers, I gave a CAT exam and a ZAT exam. So I think in terms of calls, I got a call from IIM Lucknow, IIM Kozhikode. I got a call from FMS. I got from XLRI for their HRM and business management programs from Jamshedpur. And I think those were the majority of the, and obviously the Bangalore call for the
Yeah.
business economics program. I think
How was your preparation? Was it the same preparation for all of them?
So I think it is a very different preparation when you go into interviews itself. So it's a very different mindset because essentially you are going from a learning mindset to a knowing mindset when you enter the interviews. Again, as you define that, there's no defined syllabus for the interviews. They can ask from any direction, right? So I think for my interview preparation, I covered from my classroom preparation. I think a lot of different topics were covered: Indian history, even economics, about the Indian, what is contemporary scenario, what is happening. In addition to those, sir, I think I also prepared a lot about current affairs, right? What's happening. I used to write my own current affairs as well in detail, and I used to read newspaper daily. I think from this is the point of time where I shifted from online material, that is Eon SS journals, back to newspapers, Economic Times and Mint, right? I used to read daily and used to browse through different pages of what's happening around the world. And I even used to read a lot of history, about Indian history, world history, what is going on in Israel, why are there protests going on in Israel, France, right? I got to know about Indian history, and I even read mathematics, right? Engineering mathematics, school mathematics, and I even went and even did this engineering level subjects of electrical engineering, right? What is the machine? How does it start? And I
Yes.
think a lot of those questions were even asked during my exam, right? So I think that is that you cannot, even if you prepare everything for the interview, you cannot say that I have prepared everything for the interview. Even an interview can come out of the blue and ask you something different, right? So, for example, if my name is Himanshu Bansal, so he can ask about why Bansal. So he can ask about all the history of Bansal community, right?
Yes.
So they can
Yeah,
just
yeah.
pick a point and they can go along.
They want you to know it. So
Yeah,
I'll tell you when this war started, Ukraine, Russia.
yeah,
I mean, just that a student says that Russia is wrong, Ukraine is right is not the. They want you to
yeah,
understand. They want you to have a complete understanding.
yeah,
Understand why are both fighting, because if both are fighting, both have their own valid points.
yeah,
Okay, and so they want an in-depth understanding. If there are elections which are happening, what's the background, which party, what's the
yeah,
caste breakup, everything. They want you to have an in-depth
yeah,
understanding that this person is just not, a superficial person coming out giving a judgment. This is good, this is bad. Hang on, पूरा इंडिया भरा हुआ है, IIM नहीं भरा हुआ उससे, तो
yeah,
आप इंडिया में रहिए, IIM नहीं जा पाएंगे. Please have a complete understanding,
yeah,
which is very right. And even if they say Bansal, even if they say I'm Tukral, you need to have a complete understanding
exactly.
कि क्या है. आपने पढ़ा, इतने साल थे, आपने समझा क्या था, नहीं समझा, thank you. समझा,
Yeah,
very good. This person has some content, and that is how life is, Himanshu. I
yeah,
like to add here that you face complex situations. Once you have that strong mind to apply yourself and understand it, you succeed in life. One
yeah,
succeeds in life. I will put it like that.
yeah.
So over to you. If I can put another question, so what did they ask you in the IIM Bangalore?
So I think I am Bangalore interview. They asked a lot of statistics. So
Okay.
uh, I think I read a lot of mathematics. I did anticipate that they might go into mathematics. So I think as I entered the interview, I think the interview started off with that. I think it was around 12 in the morning, right? So I think it started. I was outside at 11:30. My interview started at around 12:05. So when I entered, I said good morning. So the first question that I asked that is 12:05. That why it's afternoon, right? So and even I got with the pun. I was like that, sir. It's early afternoon. It's late morning. So
Uh,
they went with the joke and we did gel. So essentially they asked me about my work ex, what I did, and they asked me if I'm comfortable statistics. So I told, yeah, I'm comfortable with statistics. Even though I might not be that to that extent, but I was like, I'll handle it what comes. And I've read enough that I can handle some situations. So
so was it
essentially,
something related to the work that you do? Is your work related to something on statistics? Do you do?
it's strategy and consulting and data analytics. It's not all statistics. Though
Okay.
we use somewhat statistics, but essentially, I think they asked me what is standard deviation particularly, right? They were like, because I also mentioned that something about standard deviation I know a little bit. So they're like, you're an expert on standard deviation. So they started me to press on that. What is standard deviation? What is a common normal curve? What is an abnormal curve? Why do we call that curve that curve? What is the correlation? All that. So they asked me that, did I use statistics in work experience? So I think luckily at that moment, actually I had used, and at that moment it did struck to me. During my work experience, was leading a team, and I did recommend something from out of my own accord to the team, and I remembered that, and at the moment I was able to convey those to them. I think they might have also liked that. And I think even during the interview, we also gelled about the IIM Bangalore campus. So I think one of the architects of the IIM Bangalore campus was the student of the person who designed the Chandigarh. And I was from Chandigarh, so we even gelled on that. So I think we were talking about different things. So I think they were also happy. I was also, but I was not sure if I'll get selected, because a lot of people are giving the interview, so you never know what is going to happen even if
How
you
was
get
the
a good interview.
environment outside the interview room? I've never asked this question, but I'm really very keen to understand. How was the environment outside the room? Like students waiting, nervous, chit chatting. How was it?
I think it was a mix of nervousness and bit of friendliness. So I
Hmm.
think we were inside this. My Bangalore interviews was actually at Bangalore campus. So I flew from Chandigarh to Bangalore. I am Bangalore campus. So I think inside, I think in my panel, I think there were around 8 to 10 people. I think we were sitting in a row, right? We were interacting and not to that extent. And I got to know that the person sitting next to me was from the same company, from ZS Associates. He was also working there. So I think one nervousness also goes that we have the same background, right? Ultimately it's a competition, right?
Yeah, yes.
So I think that nervousness also kicks in, and little bit to that extent. I believed in myself. I think I was like that. I'll do my own job. He'll do his own job. But again, at the end of the day, it's a little bit competition, right? To go into an IM. So essentially, I think he went ahead of me. So I think I was waiting outside. So it was a chill, but it was little bit nervous. But essentially, I think there was also conference going on in the second room next to interview. So I think they were giving some juices and breakfast, and they even offered some juices and breakfast to students. So I think that juice and breakfast helped lower the nerve.
Very nice. How
Yeah.
was XLRI interview different from I Bangalore? Was it very
Uh,
different?
sure. As an auxiliary interview, it was an online-based interview, and I think there were around 3 to 4 panelists in the panel. So I think they went into a lot of detail about my work experience. Uh, and I think at that point of time, I gave some other interviews like I am Lucknow and Cozy Code interview as well. I was a bit comfortable even giving my mock interviews as well after giving my mocks. So essentially, I was a bit comfortable. So I even started to lead the interview in some directions, right? So for example, I belong to a consulting background. So I even went in the direction that consulting is one of the oldest professions, right? So from times of Mahabharata, right? For example, Krishna, he's one of the oldest consultants. I even divulged into those history, and I went
Right.
to Indian history because I was a bit comfortable about Indian history. So I even told that there was a new golden age of India coming, and we can always also see from macroeconomic statistics that there's a new India that's coming up. So they asked me about what is the old time. So actually, I did read about a lot about history as well. So I told them about it was about time of Chandragupta, that it was the golden age, right? Around 1200. I told about the ages. I think one of the professors asked me about electrical engineering. I think
Mhm.
it had been around 3.5 years since I left my college, and around 2 years before that, since I studied those subjects, so I knew they might be coming in. So I did read through those, and they asked me, "What do you know about electrical engineering?" It has been a long time. So I started off with that. I am comfortable with machines. So I started about machines is this, machines is that. So machines are these two types. This type is that type. So I myself went into a lot of detail. Rather than them asking, I told them I know about this. So I was like,
Yeah,
ask me
very,
whatever you
very
can.
nice. Yeah,
So
because, and I think that would have counted a lot because
yeah,
you have work experience and they were primarily looking at asking questions on your work experience and then you
yeah,
started talking about that you remember this. So gives an impression that this person, has prepared really well and is eager to get into the college,
yeah.
right?
I think one point I'd look to add is that at the end of the day, at the end of after the interviews, right, starting from your CAT written exam to the interview process, after it is over, I think you'll be a different person altogether. So because I think as I read through Indian history, economics, about all what's going in the world, right, I realized that there's not a lot I knew about, right. So I think that also ignited my curiosity to know about different things. It made me more curious. It made me more proactive, right. even going to a B school, I'll be not inclined towards selfish reasons, but essentially I would be towards more developing the world around myself, towards India. And I'll also be, I think that played lot of factor in changing myself as well, right? So I think at the end of the day, I am a different person myself. I view the world at a different angle, right? What we should do, what is the purpose of my life, and that
I'd
helps.
like to add here, B school will, these 2 years will change the way change the way you look at life.
Yeah,
And I think it's been 15 years or more since I did my MBA. I would say it just changed the way I am. And over these next 15 years, I really developed myself further.
yeah,
Okay, because I got those things. How to develop myself is what I really got.
yeah,
Network is what I got. So this is what is going to happen even in Bangalore, which was
yeah.
the most difficult interview.
Most difficult interview was my Lucknow interview.
Is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Why do
So
you say that?
I think it was one of my first major interviews, and I think it was around 25th Feb. So I think I did give mock interviews. I did prep for all my electrical engineering subjects, but essentially I started off at a very good pace with the Lucknow interview. But essentially they asked me a very technical question of electrical engineering. That was not as much prepared. I did prepare, but I think they asked me to draw graphs of some machines and electrical machines. So they went into very much detail. So I think I knew about it, but I was not as much prepared to that extent. So I think it was a very short interview, and I think since it was my first interview, I was a bit nervous as well. I
Hmm.
think that did factor in, but essentially, I think that also was also one of the learning experiences for me as I went to my next Kozhikode interview. So one fun fact: Lucknow interviews my was in Noida, and Kozhikode interviews were in Mumbai. So I think one day Lucknow interview, the next day was Kozhikode in Mumbai. So I had to travel from Delhi to Mumbai in a span of one single day. So I think one factor is good that I got to travel Mumbai as well. So I think that
Hmm.
one thing I get from that. But essentially from Lucknow interview, I think the learning that I got, I applied all that to the Kozhikode interview. I think for me that went really smoothly. I was lot talked to take a lead. I was talked to able to talk about different things. So I think and subsequently the next interview I was able to apply all the previous learnings. And as I talked about Exera interview, uh, the question that was asked in Lucknow interview about specifics about electrical engineering, I prepared all of those. I was like, I would not leave even a single concept. I would read all about it, right? I won't give them a room spare to ask. So when I went to Exerai so interview, I told them all about my experience or about what I know about electrical engineering to the extent that they think that I know about everything about electrical. And even I got to know and revisit a lot of different concepts that I'm happy that I did because
Hmm.
my knowledge is increased.
So which was your worst interview was also Lucknow.
Sorry.
So I asked earlier. I asked was your which was your most difficult interview? Which was your best interview and which was your worst interview out of all the
Uh,
interviews?
yeah, so I think I won't say worst, but I'll say difficult Lucknow because at the end of the day, it was a learning experience.
Hmm.
But I think the best interview, I think it was the Exera interview. I think it went smoothly. I think it went as I wanted it to go.
Very
Yeah,
nice. No, no, yes. So it's an interview. So it's an
yeah,
interaction. It also depends on the panel. Okay,
yeah,
because they want to put you in difficult situations, and
yeah,
time just flew by. 8 minutes left.
yeah.
Uh, what would you want to communicate to students? So we talked about what you did. What would you want that maybe you did not do, but you want them to do? What's your take there?
I think I think I'll divide into two different parts. I think three different parts. So I think the first thing is cover entire syllabus. If you're starting right now, I only have 3 months. You guys have 6 months. I think this is the right time to start if you're planning. Make a decision very quickly. It's not like I'll decide in a month. If you want to do, decide it now and start preparing for the entire syllabus. Complete your syllabus 1 or 2 months back, and basically try to in the last 1 or 2 months try to revise as much as possible. That's one part of it. The second is mocks. Give as many mocks as possible. And as I told you, sir, that if I would have been preparing 2 months back from 3 months back, so essentially I would have given even more mocks. So
So,
essentially, I think
hmm,
yeah,
yeah,
so,
please, please.
yeah. So I think give as much mocks as possible, and basically try to analyze to the extent possible. It's not like I've given a mock, I'll move to next mock. So unless you have analyzed the previous mock, don't go to the next mock. That
Right.
and then the third pillar would be keep in touch with the teachers and the counselors at the institute if you are enrolled to one. So essentially, I think that would also be helping in your journey. They'll help you develop different strategies. And at this point of time, I think you have a lot of time. You can develop and try different strategies and find out what's working for you. I think by end of CAT exam, I think you'll be a very good place to
Yes, yes,
use
yes.
it.
So, what do you think? Uh, did you end up covering the complete Hitbullseye material, or did you leave portions of it still? What were you able to do it in 3 months, or did you leave it?
I think I was able to complete most of the material and most of the subjects. So I think
Okay.
I was able to complete all the theoretical subjects and the formulas. I was able to complete all the class exercise, and I was also able to complete all the practice exercise. I think there were some advanced questions that I did not do because I was already doing a lot of mocks, and mock preparation was taking a lot of my different time. So I
Mm.
think mock analysis was also taking a lot of time. So I was not able to touch up on some material, but I was like, if I'm doing mocks, learning by mock. I think that is sufficient. But essentially, I covered all the theoretical and basic material that I had, the online class exercise material. I think there was some extra material as well. I did it to some extent, but not to the extent because I had a limited time. So then I shifted back to mocks to complete my syllabus and any of the material that is left.
One last question before we start concluding. जब start किया तो लगता था हो जाएगा कि doubt रहता था क्या नहीं होगा क्या लगता था?
So I think when I started, I put on a sabbatical. At that point of time, I was like, I have to do it no matter what.
Very
Right?
good.
I was
Yes.
like, it's a do or die situation.
Mm.
And I knew there was a possibility that it's not there. But I did thought that end of the day, I'll be a better person with more knowledge, right? Even if it's not. But I did knew that I'll do something if I did it with dedication and uh, made a constant effort. So I tried to do that to the extent possible. And I think that's about.
Any concluding comments before I conclude?
So I think our concluding comments to all the viewers that are watching is keep doing it, right? I think you'll get to interact with a lot of different people. You will get to know a lot of different concepts and a lot of different philosophies as well, right? From even different philosophies from different people. But at the end of the day, it's you in the paper. So I think at the end of the day, you have to make up your mind. You have to develop your own strategy. You have to do your own self work, right? Nobody can spoon feed you that and make you clear your exam. So I think it's all about self effort at the end of the day. Teachers will help you to the extent possible, but essentially make your mind that if you have to do it, go all in and put your effort to the extent possible. And at the end of the day, if it's not there, if it clears it, not clears, it's a separate matter, right? It's a matter of destiny. I think it will take you to a very good place, whatever the result is. But at the end of the day, it should not be that had I put in more effort, right? Had I put in 1 or 10% extra effort, just put that effort and let the result be. And I think if you put that effort, result will definitely come for the best.
Very nice. So success begins once you've decided I have to do it.
Yeah,
And when the moment you identify there's a problem at hand, there's a particular topic which I don't understand,
yeah,
you make an effort to improve it.
yeah,
Okay, so, I would say that irrespective whoever's gone to a good college, it was not that they had everything good. They identified what was not going right and they made an effort to put it right. They referred to the extra online material apart from the books, they referred to mock cats. They made it sure that that particular thing improves. Verbal improved for him. He was not confident to begin with. Okay, so maybe he was confident, but he was not getting that score. I'll correct my words here. He was not getting that score, but he got the highest percentile in verbal. Changes happen. That change in you, the student, is already happening. It may not be visible, it may not be a drastic change every day, but that change in your personality, that change in your way of life, that change in your the way you approach the paper has already started happening. Have faith in yourself. Thank you so much, Himanshu, for coming, helping us out, sparing that time. And as I said, I started this doing this 20 years back with Hitbullseye. And they're such a fantastic bunch of people that I'm still associated after 20 years. It's a huge time period. Even after I moved on in my corporate life, we hope you also continue like that. We wish you all the very best
you.
for your future endeavors. A fantastic state I am, Bangalore, which I'm sure is going to be full of challenges. And that's where when you meet challenges, do you improve? So 2 years we'll see a different Himanshu coming out of IIM Bangalore. And I promise you that that's how good an IIM Bangalore is. Wish you all the best. That's it from my side. Anything you want to say?
Yes, sir. I think the last comment to all the students, all the best for your exam and preparations. I think, as I mentioned, that a lot of teachers and lots of other people who have cracked the exam helped me during my preparation. I think if you're feeling lost and you want motivation and you want to discuss something, I think you can reach out to the teachers and you can even reach out to me. I think you can reach out to me on LinkedIn. My name is Himanshu Bansal. You can reach out to me if there is any question. I would be happy to provide you mentoring and help along the way. So I think
Fantastic. Very nice. Very nice, Himanshu. That's so humble of you.
Yeah.
All the best. All the best.
Thank you,
Humble
sir.
people go a long way. Yes.
Sure, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye. All the best to everyone.
Yeah. Thank you.